Hello. Hi, guys.
We did it. We're here. Hey,
We did the thing.
welcome to Highlight Heroes, everybody. Featuring Momo Obrien.
I was gonna say, it's like, are you welcoming Parker to Highlight Heroes?
Yeah, it's me. It's me. Josh is always like, and Parker's here, and I'm like, I'm always here.
Parker, introduce yourself. Do it.
Hi, my name's Parkerbliss on all social media, and I'm one of the innkeepers here at the Welcome Inn. I'm not actually the important person today. What's up, Josh? Introduce yourself.
Hey, it's me, Josh, being introduced by me, Josh, by command from Parker. The Governor, that's my username. God, we're so good. How long have we been doing this show, Parker, and we still haven't got it figured out?
Over a year?
Over a year, and we just kind of like, well, hey, everybody.
Hey.
But guys, goddammit, the most important part of this show is our guest, everybody. Momo, introduce yourself to the people.
I was also gonna say, it's totally fine. Like 5 minutes before we play, every single time, my DM's always like, does everybody have Roll20 open? And I always don't. So a year is nothing.
It's okay.
Hello. I'm Momo Obrien. I make content online about immersive experiences, mainly YouTube videos, and I am also the producer of a new D&D show called Realms Apart, which I'm sure we'll talk about loads in the next hour or so.
I'm very excited for that. So before we get into all the amazingness that is Momo's content, we're first going to do a few quick announcements, and then we'll go from there, all right? So I think, Parker, you start this off, right?
I do. Hi, guys. I'm here with your schedule. So, as always, our schedule will be up on Instagram. We have a very easy week this week, which is, I'm sure, a breath of fresh air for Josh. We only have two things going on this week. We have our weekly campaigns. Friday, you can find Off the Rails, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then Saturday, you can join us for Conundrum Company at 6 p.m. Eastern. We only have two days of programming.
Thank
Just for you,
Parker.
Josh.
I needed that so badly.
May is so easy for Josh this time. I got it.
The rest of my life should take a note from this book. Hey guys, none of this amazing content could be brought to you without our fantastic sponsors, the first of whom is Skull Splitter Dice. Now, they do a bunch of giveaways.
Not the first time I've heard that. It just brings me joy.
It never gets old. It
Time.
never gets old. Not only do they do giveaways with our program, which you can get in on during our campaign shows Fridays, Saturdays, and then some of our Sunday programming, but they also do some really cool content, or good lord, really cool dice that you could buy at their store in chat.
You having a day?
I'm
You're
failing.
nailing it.
I'm the one that got a shot today.
I know.
Me. I did that.
You had your call. I can't get through the freaking announcements. I had a fine day. It was easy. Good lord. Okay, Skull Splitter Dice. Go buy some of their dice, guys. If this wasn't good enough for you, I don't know what would be. So please go check them out. Of course, our second sponsor is Gooey Cube, the gooeyest of cube companies. Gooey Cube, they make a whole bunch of supplemental materials that you can use, homebrew worlds for GMs to use in their D&D 5e settings. We highly recommend them. A lot of fun to play and really cool, beautiful artwork. Click on that link in chat if you want to. Huge shout out to our friends. We completed the community event, and we have a second one going. Parker, do you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, our community event this month that we're raising money for is to have the cast from Off the Rails and Conundrum Company play a bunch of games like Jackbox and Among Us in character. It's going to be a ton of fun. So you guys, as soon as we have that funded, we'll schedule that stream. But you guys can go ahead and put those Twee tokens in chat.
Hell yes. And of course, we have a Wikipedia.
So fun.
Yeah.
Right?
We're hype.
We have a Wikipedia with a bunch of information on our shows. You can check out that.
Twiki.
Thank you. Yeah, the Twiki. It's Twee is just such a good name.
It's a good name.
Brilliant. Well done. You can go click on that, find out more about our shows. Thank you to our cast members and our mods for helping get that done. Tanner, really appreciate it. Of course, the most important announcement saved for last. Excuse me. This month, we'd like to focus on the Coalition for the Homeless. The Coalition for the Homeless is the nation's oldest advocacy and direct service organization helping homeless individuals. They state that affordable housing, sufficient food, and the chance to work for a living wage are fundamental rights in a civilized society. Since their inception in 1981, the coalition has worked through litigation, public education, and direct services to ensure that these goals are realized. Guys, we would really appreciate if before spending money on bits, before resubbing or subscribing for the first time or whatever, instead click on that donate button in the About Us section or at the link there on chat. Go make a donation in our name, a family member's name, a friend's name, your own name, whatever it is. Make a donation, help out the world. This is a really awesome charity. And with that, I think our announcements are done.
It's time for show proper.
Woo! Okay.
We did it.
So now a little bird told me through Discord that Momo, you're not painting a mini today. So what are you doing? Tell us.
No. So Realms Apart is a little bit of an odd D&D podcast where we essentially take our recordings, we add soundscape and music and, change up the pacing of the dialogue and everything. And then I go in and add animatic slides, essentially. So the experience of watching our D&D podcast is more like watching an animated show, so it's a little bit more accessible. I think it's pretty entertaining, but I'm also biased. But it is a lot of work, so I thought I'd show you how I go about making some of the slides for the episode that I'm currently working on instead of painting a mini, because I am a busy bee, so I thought I'd get some work done during
This was in the writer, right? Like, the only way we could get Momo is if Momo could do work while interviewing.
Yeah. We're like, what a relatable mood.
Oh my god.
The art for Realms Apart is
so good.
Gorgeous.
The character art is done by a incredible artist who goes by Salix on Instagram, SAILLIX, I believe, but their links are everywhere on our social media, and the incredible work that she has done is the foundation for all of the slides. Like, she makes them look good. Yeah.
So
Awesome.
Tell us a little bit about this process then, because we've got it up here on the screen. The audience can see this beautiful master.
So where most of the magic happens, per se, let's go ahead and work with. This is Maglo. This is our good friend Matt's character. Most of where the magic happens is if I open up a liquefy window. Are you able to see this?
Yeah.
If not, that's fine. Are you able to see me messing with his face, like whoop 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 whoop?
I don't think so, unless it's
fine.
very subtle.
That's totally fine. I'll just show you first. So, like, let's say that we're in a scene and Maglo's a little sad. I'll just raise his eyebrows a little bit, put his mouth down, and boom! Now we have a sad Maglo. And
magic.
The way that we do this is, God, it's so much work, but it's so rewarding because there's so much more life and so much more story that can be told when you're looking at the face of a character as opposed to, like, friends at a table on a Zoom call or just listening to it. Like, especially if you're looking at, like, faces of other characters, you can see how, like, other characters are reacting to things. Like, let's say somebody over here was just talking about their sibling. I can make Maglo look sad because, typical dead family member backstory stuff. And you just feel
really.
so much more connected to the characters and their story when you see them, like, in their environment. And I work a lot with, like, color. So, like, if a scene is particularly spooky, I'll have a lot of greens and blues and stuff, and mess with the lighting as well. And it manages to capture the mood a lot more than, if we're just sitting at a table. But if that's your jam, we also have the live plays over on the Scabby Rooster Twitch channel. So if you prefer stuff more like Critical Role, we also have that available, so you can see what it looks like before I go in and completely mess with it, make it sound more like an audiobook.
Good. Hey, so, okay, I have a request. Can you do your best Maglo impression right now? Why he's sad? Could you be Matt for us?
Let me make him sad again.
This is just to torment Matt because he's in chat.
We'll be alright with all this oil. First of all, tomorrow I'm gonna be mighty thirsty.
That's so good.
The progression. My name's Specialist Maglo Mentorian. I'm with the Neverwinter Army.
That's so good.
You just gotta do the science thing. That's all you're getting.
That's so good.
You just have to do the science thing.
That's part
of
of
that.
that
Have to do the science thing.
Oh my god, I'm so
God,
happy.
it's good.
I'm so happy. Okay. All right.
So good.
Photoshop is being a little dumb for me.
While you're doing this, we're going to throw questions at you and paint minis. I'm painting a little goblin, kind of in honor of your character. And Parker, what do you got going?
Anybody that knows me will not be surprised. I'm painting a blue dragon.
Yes!
This boy, this angry boy. I will be painting him.
Gorgeous.
And if you'd like to see a blue dragon in action, join us on Saturday for Conundrum Company.
Yep!
It tries to kill us.
Doom!
It'll be
What
fun.
should be just completely nothing. Completely. You just
Yeah, it's like
steamroll.
absolutely not a dragon. I don't believe you.
It's just
Yeah.
a weird fish. Okay, question time.
It's just a weird fish. All right. Well, moving on.
I mean, dragons are just winged lizards.
There you go.
Just a
I could have
weird
said
wing
lizard.
wizard.
That would have been smarter.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I said
It's okay.
fish.
Why not?
Also, I just realized while I'm liquefying faces, you might see me make some weird faces. I probably should have prefaced that earlier. Because, like, I have to be like, oh, if Hawk's, like, a little, confused, where would his eyebrows sit? So, like, while I'm liquefying faces, I'll usually be like, or, like...
I love that.
just to see, like, what kind of faces I should be making. So if you see me make, like, weird expressions, that's just why.
I love that.
I'm very excited for this. Even more so now. Ugh.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Okay, so we getting into the questions proper? We
Question
doing
time. Yeah.
doing the thing. All right, Momo, how'd you get into D&D?
So I got into D&D like, oh, my scratch discs are full. Perfect time. I'll just delete some stuff. I got into D&D I think it was like second year university. And you can actually see, like, if you go back, like, early days on my YouTube videos, I have, like, a little video where I talk about joining my first D&D group.
Oh.
And I had joined, like, a couple campaigns in that time, but I was never really super into it. And then, like, a few years later, I started LARPing, which my D&D group at the time made fun of me for. They're very sweet. They apologized after. It's fine. But I really enjoyed LARPing, and I think there was a big difference for me, like, being able to physically see everything and being able to like to me, the difference between role-playing in a LARP versus role-playing at a tabletop is when you see behind the scenes of movies and there's something like Game of Thrones where everyone's like all in costume and all the sets are physical, and everything that you're acting against is like right there in front of you, versus when you see someone working in front of a green screen in front of a man with like dots on their face. Like a lot of the imagination has to happen from you. But then the Panzerati happened, and a lot of my friends that I had met through LARPing, we started a D&D campaign. And that's when I started getting really into it. And I also started dating a man who, really likes the mechanics of D&D. So I had somebody that was able to help me out, which was really great, with the mechanics and stuff. I just discovered it's so hard to talk and also be like, where is the light coming from in this shot?
It's the greatest challenge of this show.
We don't actually see a lot of work ever get done on these shows, and I feel like you should know that now.
Fair warning.
But yeah, that's when I started getting like really into it, and then me and my group were like, hey, like this is too cool to not share. So we took our private campaign and we made it public, and now people can see me be bad at D&D for all to see, kind of thing.
Oh, that's amazing. So now you kind of got started into D&D through LARPing and all that. Do you have a favorite class you like to play in D&D?
I mean, I haven't played enough classes to, know which one's for sure my favorite, but I really enjoy playing wizards. Not for any mechanical reason, because apparently the mechanics of wizards are very difficult and I haven't wrapped my head around them. I just love that it essentially gives you a prompt to role play whatever cool spell you're gonna cast. Like my favorite thing while I'm in combat is to just look at a spell and see what I have to pull out of my pockets in order to make it happen. Like for the fireball, it's like, what is it? Like a pile of shit and like a bat wing or something. I don't fucking
Your
know.
sulfur,
Sulfur, yeah. But that's my favorite part, is to just like see what the components are for that spell and be like, how can I describe this in a really like fun, flowery way? And I like playing wizards just because I think it's so fun to describe this like wild magic thing that they do. Not wild magic, which I know is something different. Wacky magic. We'll call it that.
Wacky magic. I love that.
Wacky magic.
Love that.
So maybe an easier question, because a lot of these are fantasy just in general, but do you have a favorite race to play that you find yourself leaning towards?
I haven't played, again, like I'm haven't made too many characters. I like playing goblins because I like doing dumb voices. Anything where I can do a dumb voice, pretty much. I'm really interested in playing tieflings, because I really like, you know, their bright colors and whatnot. I think it'd be really fun to design a tiefling. Yeah. Again, it's not for any like mechanic reason, because I don't know those super well yet. But
I rely
I'm
heavily
starting to.
on aesthetics, and I do know most of the mechanics, so I don't feel like there's any problem in that.
Yeah. Aesthetic is a good way to do it, honestly. Okay. So you got a favorite. So is there, you kind of said you haven't had a chance to play every class yet. So is there a class you want to try next? Is there something on your list?
I want to play a ranger because I think they're sexy. Next question.
Thank you.
No, I think, well, you know, obviously I think they're cool.
Yeah, Sean.
But I think
she said
having,
what she
like,
said.
I think having like an animal companion is really neat. I like the like woodland aesthetic. Like I try and dress like the Disney princess at the beginning of the movie. I just think that there's a lot of neat character stuff that I'd like to play with there, and I want to challenge myself maybe a little bit next time and get better at describing more mundane forms of attacks, like with swords and bows and arrows. And I think that ranger might be a next step, because I could still be like a little wacky and creative with like their animal companion, but get better at just being like, I hit him with my sword. Because that's a reason I haven't made like a paladin yet, is because like I'm nervous because I don't know how to like describe just hitting someone with a sword and make it like entertaining, you know what I mean? Because that's I'm an entertainer before I'm a player, unfortunately.
That's valid though. That and a mood.
Like my Pinterest board for my tabletop character is all like, here are different ways that you can describe being tired. Here's a list of synonyms for like the color of someone's hair and stuff. Like it's all like literary prompts essentially.
So what I'm hearing is you'd be a good dungeon master, because this is literally what like we do.
Oh my lord! Oh god!
We sit like.
I don't...
I've had to describe a sword cutting somebody in 800 different ways, and it is an art form. It is really tricky. You're absolutely right. I bet you could do it. I bet you'd be fantastic.
I think in the very distant future, yes, I would make a good dungeon master, but like, Lord, it's so hard. Like I remember me and Matt, there was one night where he was like, I just want to do like a zombie campaign. And so I like tried to run a little thing just for him. And there was like characters that I forgot about that just disappeared. And then he got to one point and did something like entirely different that I had no idea that he was going to do. And I had to like work around that. And like, God, it's like dungeon mastering is so anxiety inducing. It's like working in a restaurant kitchen at rush hour. And I just don't have the capability to do it quite yet, but I do think it has tickled my fancy. I would like to at some point, but definitely when I reach a point where I understand the mechanics a little bit better and I understand how my brain works for D&D and I utilize sticky notes a little bit better and stuff. But one day I'd really like to.
That's super valid reasoning. That's very true.
Super
All those
valid.
accurate. Yeah. Oh.
So, I think we kind of covered the next part, but are there any other races other than Tiefling that you're interested in trying next? Anything
What are the
else?
races again? There's human, tiefling. I want to be a dragonborn.
Dragonborn.
That'd be really cool because I
Dragonborn as
like
well.
dragons.
Dwarfs, gnomes, tabaxi.
Just me over here
Elves.
thinking through what you've said so far. I think that you would really enjoy Ganassi's because of all the aesthetic choices you can make with a Ganassi.
They're like the elemental things, right? They've only been mentioned
Mhm.
in my campaign, and I play a character in our campaign that doesn't know anything about the world because she was very sheltered, and it works for me because I don't know anything about the world. So like
That's
the
a
only
good
thing I
choice.
know about Genasi is like another character like mentioned them, and I got to be like, ah, what are they like? You know. They're like there's like fire genasi and water genasi and stuff, right?
That is
Yep.
accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
I'm down for that. I was gonna say I'd like to be a halfling, just because, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan at heart, and I love this idea of a character whose whole thing is like just to eat, drink, and be merry. And I like playing small characters because I think at heart I'm quite small, but I'm actually a fairly tall woman, so I feel more connected to small characters, which is why I like playing like goblins. And I think I was on, was it? I was on a stream. It might have been here. My brain is stupid. Where I played a fairy, and it
That
was
was
like
here.
a Peter Pan
You were
game.
Tinkerbell
Was it here?
style.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's gonna be really embarrassing if it wasn't. Yeah, I played like a little fairy. The smaller, the better for me. So yeah, I think like halflings. Again, like tieflings. I'd like to play a human at some point, but I'd specifically like to play a human in a campaign where like everybody else is not human. Me and Matt have talked about this before, and we find humans compelling at like a certain ratio. Like they can't make up like half the party. It either has to be
Yes.
one human and a bunch of non-humans, or a bunch of humans and one non-human, which is kind of what Realms is. Sorry, I'm looking at my.
That is
I have
so
notes
valid.
for which songs I'm gonna make.
It's so valid. Like, I've never articulated that way, but it's a perfect way of saying that. Like, humans are great in the context of the other fantasy races a lot of the time. Like, it's very interesting. That's valid. Okay. So you've said you haven't had a chance to play all of the classes, but out of the classes you have had the chance to play, is there one that you would consider your least favorite? I know, this is a hard question.
Trying to think of all of them. Gesundheit.
It's a kitty.
She's a very sneezy kitty. She takes medication for it. She's okay.
That's so cute.
Yeah. It gets pretty gross though. Like when it was bad, I would just wake up to achoo and then like a glob.
Oh.
My face
no.
was really gross. Yeah, there's like marks on the wall and stuff, but she's better now. She's better. I think my least favorite would probably be just the typical like guy and his sword, and that's not for like any valid reason. I just find it very challenging to describe entertainingly being like, I slash at the guy, because it's like it is possible. I've heard it done. It can be done decoratively. I can't do it yet because I haven't reached that level. So I just find it a little too challenging for me at this point. Like me trying to play Civilization. Not there yet. I'm at Breath of the Wild and I'm going to work my way up eventually. So I'd like to play it at some point, but right now any class that's like just mundane attacks, like hitting somebody with a sword.
It is. It goes back to that art
I
form
find a little
point.
too challenging right now.
That's valid. Super valid. I think you're up next.
Have
Parker.
you-
Oh, sorry.
I am. No, you're good. Have you played a race that you didn't really like or didn't like how it was written? Or is there one that you've looked at in the book that you're like, I just don't find that to be something that I will ever want to explore?
Parker, that implies that I've looked at the book.
I apologize. I don't think you've heard of.
I don't go much farther than D&D Beyond, quite honestly. But obviously any of the, problematic ones I don't really want to touch for obvious reasons. I don't know if I'd enjoy playing like orcs or like Goliaths or anything. Because like I said, I like small beans, and I think I might like to play a Goliath like for a one-off or something,
Hmm.
but only because I think it'd be funny. Like me going skull splitter dice. I just don't think it works. I don't I don't think I can do it
I'm gonna soundbite
well,
that.
and I
Put it on
don't
all of our intros.
just have like a button on the stream deck
Boop.
or something.
That's it.
So I'm trying to focus on, because I know in this scene these two characters have a fun little dynamic where they like tease each other a bunch, but it's like a will they won't they. So I'm trying to think of what the facial expressions would be here. And I
Tricky.
think I'm
Me,
gonna
but will they?
raise Maglow's left eyebrow a bit.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So we've kind of talked a lot about D&D, but you know you're a content creator across multiple medias and platforms. How did you get into that? Like, what's your origin story as a content creator?
So it started in like early university, where, how most content creators' tragic backstory goes, where, I was going through a hard time, and one of my friends in university was like, "Hey, have you ever thought about making a YouTube channel? Because, like, I think you're funny and entertaining and stuff." And I was like, "Thanks. I don't. Try to be." And so I did, and it was a nice little outlet because I've always enjoyed, like, music and acting, and I worked as a professional editor since the age of 16, so that's obviously something that I really enjoyed. And so I just started making like dumb little videos, and I made a Frozen cover that went sort of viral. Don't look it up. It's not good. It was just a Frozen cover, and like that's why. But as time went on, I started figuring out like what I enjoyed doing, what other people enjoyed me doing, and I just like figured myself out a little bit, and now it's gotten to the point where I focus on making like little pseudo documentaries essentially about immersive experiences, mainly LARPs, but I'm trying to branch my brand out a little bit, and I'm starting to do theme parks. I have footage from a immersive cocktail experience in London, which was super fun. One sec, I'm just typing. Where it was basically like a saloon, and I went with Matt actually, and you go in and they give you like cowboy hats and like shirts to tie on and stuff, and you can interact with the sheriff, and they give you like all these like themed drinks and stuff, and oh my God, it was so fun. But yeah, that's what I do now. It requires a lot of editing, but it's what I find fulfilling. So I hope people don't mind waiting a bit for my dumb little artsy videos.
Well, your storytelling is so good. Like, you
Mhm.
really understand that, how to convey a
Um,
narrative.
Well, it actually started because, like I said, I've been working as a professional editor since the age of 16. And funny story, actually, like that was a connection situation where I used to make little behind the scenes videos for like the musicals I was in, and one of the moms of the kids in the musicals with me was like, "Yo, I work in the same building as like these professional." Like event cinematographers, like you should come say hi at some point. And I was like, yeah, totally. And I show up, and I literally thought I was just there, like to say hi. And he's like, well, the head of the company was there, and he like shook my hand and stuff, and he's like, come on, let's go have a chat. And I was like, sure. And so he took me to like an office, and we sat down in the office, and I was like, this is a little weird, but I'm 16, I don't know anything. And he was like, so like blah 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 blah. He was like asking me all these questions, and I just thought it was like a really weird conversation we were having. And then he's like, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? And about halfway through that, I realized, oh, this is an interview. Oh, this is a job interview, which is probably the only reason I did so well. Because after that point, I completely froze up, and I suck at job interviews. So it was probably good that I didn't realize that was one. So I worked for them for a few years before I went away to school, and it was a really rewarding experience. And like everything I know, I learned from them, not from university, weirdly enough, but from them. And they taught me, because I mainly did weddings, which I really enjoyed, and that's actually like a dream of mine is to get back into that. Turn back on camera. I guess I'm changing the battery again.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. Sorry about this though. Enjoy the look of the EOS error screen.
Hey!
It's my fault. I was trying to take moody pictures before this, and I should have had another battery on him or something. But they taught me to look at all the footage we got from an event, because like all of that footage is candid, right?
Right.
And they taught me how to like make rough cuts and put all the location shots together so that we could use them to like transition scenes. And if we interview the bride before the wedding and she's like, I just like to thank my brother, he's always been there for me. And we know to go get a shot of their brother and put it over top of that for B-roll. Like, they taught me how to take as much footage as possible candidly at an event and then arrange it in a way so that it feels like a complete story. So the, storytelling aspect of my videos is completely from them, because like now, I'm working on a video about Disney World right now, and it has like a thesis and shit and like a framing device, and it's dumb and artsy, but on a more simplistic level, I know that at the beginning of my videos, I have to introduce the friends that I'm going with, and I know to like try and sneak a clip in there that show off their personalities, because I try to structure these dumb little candid vlogs like a film. I know where to put an inciting incident, and like the most exciting thing that happened at the event, I'll typically put about 2/3 into the film, because it's like where the climax would happen and stuff. So I put a dumb amount of thought
That's amazing.
into my
That
videos.
is really good though.
That's why they take so long.
That's so
fair,
much
though.
thought. Like, so
Because my process is, first I do the rough cut, where I will go through the entirety of the footage I got, and there's a little sad talk. The entirety of the footage I got, and put it all together and pay attention to, like, oh, that's a good location shot, or like, oh, that's a nice exterior, or oh, I mentioned something about Kaza there, like we can put that in this place. And like we were at Disney World for 5 days maybe, and the rough cut ended up being like 2 hours and 40 minutes, and that's just all the usable footage. Like, that's just the shots that aren't shaky, where I come across shots where I'm like, I think I can use that. And then after that, after I get all the footage together, I start arranging it into what can kind of be a story.
God, that's incredible. That's
Super cool.
It's so interesting to hear you speak on it. Like, it's such a process, and that, like, I hope I think we can all appreciate the amount of time and effort that goes into. Good Lord, amazing. Guys, we're getting really close to the audience questions. I think Parker has one more question to ask. So, but for folks who are preparing for those audience questions, if you highlight them, it's easier for Parker and I to see, and we'll read them off. If you aren't able to highlight them because it costs channel points and all that jazz, so one of our mods will probably come through, highlight, and attribute it to you. So feel free to post it. We'll try and get to them all. But yeah, last question.
What is your biggest hobby outside of D&D?
I have a lot of hobbies outside of D&D, honestly. I think mostly I like to do music. I don't think I'm particularly good at it. I don't have like a great ear for it, so I'll listen back to my singing a lot of the times and be like, God, none of those notes are in tune. But I enjoy it. Actually, I can't share it or anything yet because we haven't gotten to those episodes, but I've actually written original music for Realms Apart. Like I said, we're producing it so that it feels more like an animated show, and not to spoil anything, but we in one of the sessions I figured out like off camera, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to like read out these runes, and like that's what makes a ritual happen. And I recently had watched I don't know if you guys have seen the Dark Crystal series,
but
it's
so good.
like, oh, it's so good. God, I love it. But I reached that scene where they like sing that funeral song. And I was like, this composition is actually like pretty simple, and the key sounds really similar to like Scarborough Fair and Pippin's song from Lord of the Rings. And I messaged my DM and I was like, listen, Nox, I got some creative energy that I can feel needs to be expelled. Like I want to challenge myself and try and write like a fantasy song. Could the runes in this ritual circle actually be a song? And could my character like sing it? And so like the next session began and me and my DM like worked together to for my character to be like, oh, it rhymes. It's a song. And then I like prepared the song and played it for my group and they were all like, it's so crazy. So eventually, because I'm remarkably extra, you're going to come across a point in Realms Apart where you're going to start to hear original music. And then later on, our bard wrote the lyrics to a song and I like produced it and you're going to hear that as well. So Realms Apart is not only a pseudo-animated show, it's also a musical.
I love that.
I guess.
That's amazing. I love that. Oh.
It's exhausting is what it is. But yes, you asked me what I do beyond D&D and I made it about D&D again. But yes, I also do music. I like to sew. I've sewed a couple LARP costumes. I've just gotten quarantine and dating Matthew has gotten me into video games. So I love The Sims
Nice.
and Stardew Valley. And that's like mainly what I do for fun now because it requires my hands, so I can't like work at the same time except, editing the audio for Realms Apart, which I genuinely really enjoy doing anyway.
So there's a cottagecore mod for Stardew Valley, which I feel like is
I know.
very okay. I was about
I'm literally I just figured I was really nerd my game because I'm so like not technologically savvy that I was sure I was gonna like mess up my computer somehow. But I just did it. But now I can't play with my Switch controller like I can when I play via Steam like the original game, and it's quite sad. But my farm looks so pretty that I got used to the mouse and everything.
I'll bite the bullet
in my main game, I can't decide between romancing Harvey or Shane, and it's a very tough decision between the doctor who likes airplanes and the alcoholic who tells me to fuck off whenever I talk to him. I feel really torn as a straight woman. I can fix him.
That's valid. That's super valid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my lord.
I started playing Spiritfarer, really enjoying that.
Very aesthetic. I'll watch my wife
oh my
play
God, yeah.
Spiritfarer. It's chill. It's just mellow. It's very nice.
Yeah, I like to play it before bed. So like right now, if you can see, I'm adding a drop shadow, which just gives the scene a little more depth, and it lets you see like how far away from this wall. Like typically when we're in scenes that are meant to feel like a little claustrophobic. I went to school for film studies, so I know like the basics of cinematography and stuff. So like for scenes where the kind of cops in we play in the Forgotten Realms world that I don't know too much about, but neither does my character, so it's okay.
It's perfect.
But if we're being hunted by the City Watch and then we get surrounded by them, I'll typically add a drop shadow to the scene to make it feel like we're backed up against a wall. And like I'm actually gonna do it here so I can show you, but I'll just put random character art. Let's put Illyri. So to remind people that there are in fact other people in the scene, I'll just take random character art and whoop, what have I done?
Hey!
This is so much harder while talking to somebody else. Oh my god.
Sorry.
But then I'll add a color overlay. I'll just make it. I haven't seen Ruby, but I know they do this on Ruby as well when they can't afford to like make random background character art and stuff. I'll do the same thing. So I'll just add a little random person right there,
figure, yeah.
and I'll give them a little blur so that it looks like they're closer to the camera. So now it's like, oh, there's another. So typically, like if we're talking to another person in the scene, I'll just have like a little side silhouette there so that it looks like we're talking to somebody else. And let me tell you, this is like Realms Apart is essentially my version of a D&D journal because it's so helpful to like just me personally to, if I want to listen to a specific scene, just like go to the YouTube videos and I can literally scrub through and like see the scenes. Yeah, sorry, I'm rambling.
No, I love
Wow,
it.
it's
That's so
perfect.
cool. I love the depth that brings to it as well, like the figure on the
Yeah.
floor. That's neat. Oh my god. Okay, well, I think it's time for some audience questions if you're ready for that.
Woo!
Okay, so I got this time, Parker. I know you had to do it last
Okay.
time. So, our first question comes from Methallador. Methallador asks, "This is the one I warned you about. If you could cast Find Familiar in real life, what would your familiar be?"
Lucy, my cat. Right over there. Mostly because it's like, because of the pandemonium, we don't spend a lot of time apart, but when I was at work, I used to wish that I could like FaceTime her or just be like, I wish that I could go into my brain and be like, what are you up to, Lucy? you know, when we're apart. But also we're very similar in a lot of ways. We like to be by ourselves. We don't like to be touched until we do. Then we like cuddles. I just think that we're kindred spirits in a lot of way, and I think she would make a fine familiar.
That's very.
Or a dragon because they're cool.
Fair.
Sorry, Lucy.
Never thought of
Little
familiars that way,
dragons are
but,
so
like,
good.
you could bring it with you. Like, you could just poof it in at work, and it could say hi, and then poof it back out. That's valid.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they'd like. I worked in a cafe, so I don't know if they'd love that.
Just onto the prep cook station. Okay, our next question comes from Grimaniac. Grimaniac asks, what's your most favorite moment when either you and or your party broke the DM or the party and the weirdest thing to happen during... So what's the craziest moment where you like broke your DM or the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in D&D?
I'm not sure Nox, who is my DM, can be broken. He is so incredibly good at, staying in character and staying with the moment. If he smiles, we should be worried. Though, you'll see it a couple times in our because he's like a very serious fellow and he's very good at staying in characters. But if we ever say something like, "Oh, who has the goldfish?" "Oh, I think Maglo, who's surrounded by city watch right now, has the goldfish." Nox will just go, and it's very scary. I don't know. I can't think of a time that we actually like broke him, but in the last session we recorded, which will be episode 35 for people that want to keep track. Wow. Something happened that just made me laugh harder than I have laughed in so long. I think a friend of mine like misread a situation and thought we were supposed to create a distraction. So she was pretending to be pregnant and she just goes, "Ah, my water broke." And we panic because we're like, "No, we're not supposed to be bringing attention to ourselves right now. What do we do?" And I was like, "Can I take my pet chicken and like try and sneak it under her dress? Because now we have to like produce a child somehow." And I rolled 2 natural 20s in a row, which means good things. And so like all the people on the street just see this woman. Essentially, it looks like she gave birth to a chicken. And then we had our bard performing that night, so I just go, "If you liked what you saw, be at the Stag and Song for 10 p.m. And I'm not doing it justice. You'll have to see it when the episode comes out. But oh my god, we were all just like in hysterics, Nox included. And it was a very funny moment.
Oh, that's a masterful. I love that.
Oh god, so funny.
So Sarah, the demigod, asks,
"Hi, Sarah, the demigod.
If you could trade and play any NPC in Realms Apart, who would you want to be?"
I have so I don't know if you guys have listened to Realms Apart at all, but there's like a little gnome named, you can actually see her. There she is. This is a little sneak peek because she hasn't actually made an appearance in an episode yet. So this is the first time that her art's being shown. So you guys got a special little
We got
treat.
the exclusive scoop.
Aww.
Hey!
But Nox speaks
How
very
cute.
quickly when he talks as Rosie, and this is the magic that we can do in a post-produced D&D podcast, is I actually take that audio and speed it up faster. So when Rosie speaks, it's inhumanly fast. And I have genuinely considered that this character might be based on me. I don't think she is, but I identify with Rosie Glimmerspark to a frightening degree. So, you know, I'm sure there's somebody that I would like to be Filthy Meg, God, who's like this, like, I'll bring her into a scene here. She's like this, like, super hot mermaid chick who, like, might try and kill us. I don't know. That's, like, something really interesting about Nox's campaign is everything's morally gray, which means there's very few characters that we meet where we're like, oh, you're a bad guy, you know? Like, it's very grounded in that way. But this is Filthy Meg. She is could not place because my scratch discs are full. I love that for me. Let's just try and purge it. But I think I would be Rosie Glimmerspark. You know what I mean?
The aesthetic of her, that pink hair, is magnificent.
So good.
Yeah.
The pink on blue, like, very, very good. Mm-hmm. Incredible. Oh my god. Okay. We have
yet to meet, like, a cottagecore princess, but, like, once we do, it's for sure gonna be her.
That's it.
But for now, I'm gonna say I'd most likely be Rosie Glimmerspark. And she owns, like, a little potion shop and stuff, too, which is pretty cute, if you ask me.
Sounds like a princess origin story too, right? Like rags to riches style, like eventually.
She's a little princess. Look at her little vest thing.
Yeah.
She's got a little apron. Like, that's a pretty cute outfit, honestly. Like, I'd wear that.
Yeah. It's got like Cinderella vibes in there a little bit.
Yeah, that's start of a princess movie princess.
Yeah.
Except I can't, like, I was gonna try and do an impression of her, but it's quite difficult, and I don't like. She talks like, hi, my name is Rosie Glimmerspark, and I like have to do all this alchemy stuff, and you're doing all these things that are really bad, and like I can't even do an impression of it. Like, her voice is just talking very fast.
Just go.
Yeah, she's great.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's adorable.
So Sunderstone asks, hold on, let me read this so I read it correctly. What's a backstory for a character you've played or want to play that you haven't put on a live stream yet? Like, do you have a pre-planned little backstory out there for any other?
How many characters have you made in D&D Beyond that you haven't gotten a chance to play yet?
I'm not quite as bad as Matt, who got like a subscription to D&D Beyond just so he could, like, because he makes character sheets just for fun, which that's the opposite of what I do for fun. I like getting other people to make my character sheets. Not anymore, but in the past. But I have this idea in my head for, like, a dragon rider that's, you know, obviously inspired by, like, How to Train Your Dragon and stuff. But I just think that's a really cute, simple character motivation. Is just a character who just wants to ride a dragon at some point, and that's, like, the end goal of the campaign for them. Because, like, that's something that I brought to D&D that I learned while studying film, because, like, I studied, like, broad areas of films, and I took, like, a couple screenwriting courses, and you know, the first thing that you have to flesh out for a character is, like, their motivation, because once you got that, the rest of the character, like, writes itself, essentially, and it's easy to gauge the emotion of a character in any given scene based on how far close they are to that motivation and how many obstacles are in their way and whatnot. So that's really all I have so far. Is just I just want to play a character that just wants to ride a dragon, and then, like, once they ride that dragon, we can come up with a new dream. But I just like I just like this idea in my brain of, like, you know, sort of tomboyish, but, like, wearing, like, leather armor and stuff, and it's just, like, chill and laid back, and she's just like, yeah, I just want to ride a dragon.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a really good...
A lot more low energy than what I have played in the past.
There's a really good UA for Dragon Riders that's based off of a bunch of the Dragonlance stuff, where the egg hatches as you start your adventure, and the dragon grows with you as you adventure to something that you can, like, ride and fight alongside, which is very cool.
That sounds so cool. Governor, I'm so sorry. I'm probably different than a lot of guests you've had. What the fuck is a UI? I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I'm throwing acronyms. Unearthed Arcana is like the play test kind of content.
What's that?
Yeah.
It's
I was
the
expecting
extra
it
stuff.
And-
to be clear.
You know what?
To be clear, the acronym.
I misuse that because it's homebrew. It's not even UA. It's UA is Wizards produces content you can test that's not in the game, and that's playtest
And-
material.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. So, I'm just throwing acronyms at you.
But then you explained the acronym and it sounded like it sounded like you keyboard mashed. It's like,
Just vomited magical words out that had no context or significance. So I apologize.
it's totally fine. I apologize for being on your D&D show and not knowing anything about D&D.
I apologize for vomiting words at you that mean nothing to a lot of people.
Oh, I gotta learn them eventually, or else I'm gonna get tweets from dudes about it.
That's the
You're gonna get them anyway, as someone who has learned slowly what those things are. So just,
don't
take your
let them
time.
get to you. You
take your
you
time.
play the game fantastically and you tell an amazing story. And that's really all that
Thank you.
matters. That's
Also, I'm sorry that my slide making isn't super entertaining right now because my Photoshop is acting super weird. But you get to see a small sneak peek of what it might look like as I'm making the slides. I'm trying to like delete stuff at the same time so that my disk space can get better. It's because I was working on the Disney World video today and I'm like starting it with like this big emotional montage of a bunch of Disney movies, which means I have so many clips of Disney movies on my hard drive right now and it's probably bunging everything
just
up.
struggling.
Super fair.
It's struggling, yeah.
Well,
Let me see if I can delete
in the
that one
hopes to soothe your Photoshop computer woes, Auburn Alchemist asks, has there been a moment or a character that has impacted you significantly in real life? Like, are there things that have come to light with a character you've played that you took to heart in real life?
I mean, all my characters really like. I enjoy bleed when it's not a problem for me, other people, and I think because a lot of my characters are quite personal to me, and they, come from personal struggles, and like I usually recognize it after. Like I'll get an idea for a character, and I'm like, ooh, that's neat, and then later on I'll look into it and be like, oh, that's even neater. And I recognize that like a lot of Dawdle is, like my imposter syndrome and this idea that, I'm like, I have big shoes to fill, essentially, because I don't know if you know, but I play like a elven princess that's been transformed into a goblin, which is a really fun concept to play with. But you deal with all these like emotional things, like people. I don't know whose idea it was for me to play a princess, because every time an NPC or another character calls me princess, my brain shuts off and my heart falls out my butt and I like completely break character. But like it's interesting to play with this concept of like being held in reverence when you don't feel like that connects, and a lot of that play leads to that. But like I have something like that for all my characters because I find it, fulfilling to play characters that come from the heart. And if a character comes from the heart, you're gonna get your heartstrings pulled. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I can't think of any like specific moments. I just like playing with my friends. So there are a bunch, I know. Like the episode that I'm working on right now actually is one of my favorite episodes, and I'm really happy to be working on it. But what happens is we have a moment of like calm amidst this huge panic and like all these fights and being chased by half of Waterdeep, and our characters just go and like hang out at a bar. And I think it's one of my favorite episodes because like none of us live in the same place, which is pretty unfortunate, which is part of why we play online. And it was just so nice to be able to just exist in the same space and like just get drinks. And I like danced with a friend of mine, and it was really nice to just like hang out in character. So I feel like I'm rambling at
No,
this
that's super
No,
valid.
it's fair.
It's really good too. Like you can, you're experiencing something as a group together. That's beautiful.
And like I used to think, because I'm I'm unfortunately like pretentious in some ways, and I remember like me and Matt had this conversation when we like first started dating like over a year ago, and I had this ideology where me and my characters had to be like completely separate, or else I wasn't a real actress or role player or entertainer or anything like that. Like I can't have anything in common with my characters, or else that's like almost like a weakness of my craft. And I forget what exactly Matt said, but he changed my mind for a lot of that, because he was like, no, I think it's like it can be fun and healthy and a little therapeutic if you share things in common with your character. And since then I've kind of like changed my way of thinking about it. I never make a character with the idea that we're connected at the forefront of my mind. I just think about like what would be fun, But if things line up and I notice some things that I have in common with a character and like some bleed happens, which it does happen. I'm definitely rambling now.
Personally, no, I mean, it totally makes sense.
Super
I
valid.
personally really enjoy, because I think this happens with a lot of people that I've talked to about characters, especially in D&D, when you don't realize how much of yourself you've put into a character until you start playing them, and then you're like, I do that. That's how I do things. Or like a character will call out your character. Yeah. Or one of your like other players will like call out your character on something, and you're like, ooh, I do that. That's me. I did that. Like, I think it's really interesting to be able to look back at a character and be like, that's the part of me that I put in.
Yeah, there is something. No, you go, Governor.
Go. We're interviewing you.
I hate that. I was just gonna say that there's like something very specific that I've noticed in Dawdle that I noticed in myself after, where we both act stupid on purpose to avoid looking stupid on accident, which is something that I didn't notice I did until Matt pointed it out. Now I notice it all the time, and that's something that I like intentionally put into her that I didn't realize that we shared. Like Dawdle, my dumb little goblin princess, will sometimes like act naive and dumb and like clueless on purpose so that no one expects anything of her. And I noticed far later, it's like, oh, I do the same thing. Like a lot of my reluctance to understand D&D mechanics was not like a ugh, I'm too good for math kind of thing. It was just like I didn't want to try so that I didn't fail. You know what I mean? And that's definitely something that I think we share. But, she's the heiress to an entire island, and, like, I'm just a YouTuber, but we have our reasons.
Well, it's a two-way street, right? Because when you write a D&D character, they inevitably aren't complete until you sat down and played some sessions as that character, right? Like, those characters always change. They're never what you put on that first piece of paper. And so a little bit of you bleeds in through that process too, right? Like it redefines who that character is as you're playing it. So I think that's absolutely accurate and so well articulated. I really appreciate that. I think we have time for one more question, and it is from a person near and dear to both of our hearts, though I will admit, likely more to your heart. I can admit that.
Is it Matt?
Yeah, it's Matt. It's
yeah.
Matt.
Don't take his question.
Well, that's all.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I love you.
Sorry, guys. That's it. Bye. So, final question from Captain Crail.
Also, my scratch discs are working now, and if you can see, Salix has also made like little stickers of more defined emotions. So, like, Hawk's a little bit of an awkward bean, and he's walking into a tavern right now, so I have him going like, woo.
Oh,
So many
bombardment.
people.
Yeah, very much that. Like, wow, this is a lot of sight and sound. Okay, so final question. Matt asks, what TTRPG other than D&D have you enjoyed the most or want to play the most?
I mean, the only ones that I've really played is I played a game of Kids on Brooms on Hunter Entertainment with like a lot of people way out of my league in the talent department, which was a very fulfilling stream. I'd like to play... We were listening to the new season of the McElroy Brothers show. What's
Taz.
it called?
Taz.
So,
and they...
Adventure Zone.
Yeah, and they...
I'm sorry, I started doing something. I've been
And
focused.
I love that.
we were like halfway through the session before I'm like, oh my God, are they playing a game called like The Long Year or something? And Matt's like, yeah, it's called The Quiet Year. And I was like, oh my God, I've played this. I played it like years ago. And since then it's been on my brain. So I'd love to play another game of The Quiet Year because I don't know if you guys have played it,
No.
but it's very like creative and very story driven. Like it's just essentially a series of writing prompts that help you like build a world. Do I need to change the battery again? I'm so sorry. My scratch discs are full. My batteries are empty. God. I promise there have been points in my life where I have been professional.
So I've never heard of that. That sounds
It's
amazing.
not
haven't either.
happening today. Yeah, it's a really cool game, and like I don't think it requires a lot to play. Like I think it's just a hey, why aren't you working at all now? I hate that. Can you turn on for me? Well, you get crappy webcam now, I guess. I love that. So many technical difficulties. Hello.
Hey!
wow.
Good to see you again. Welcome back.
But yeah, I think it's just like a deck of cards, and each deck of cards is a different prompt to help you like build this world. If you want, listen to the new episode of The Adventure Zone because they play a game of it, and it's essentially just like somebody in your civilization finds something. What is it? And stuff. And there's different seasons you play through that have like they're essentially just different arcs of a story, and it's a really interesting game and very creative, and that's definitely a game I'd like to play again at some point.
Oh, that's awesome. That's super good. Sorry, I was fixing the frame in real time. Well,
I'm so sorry.
you're
I'm
golden.
So sorry. That's never happened.
that's the nature of the beast. We all produce Twitch content. We know what it's like. Don't you worry. So, okay.
There's a
my
reason that
God.
Josh does this and I don't.
So, thank you, Momo, for this amazing opportunity. What we do now, right, is we're going to show everybody what we've done. So we'll start with Parker and I, and we'll end on your masterpiece and on what you've been working on, if the scratch discs allow it. Dear scratch disc gods, please allow. So, Goblin came out. He's looking great. I highly doubt it will focus, but that's okay. He looks cute. I'll send a picture to Parker. Parker, what you got? What you got?
I've just been working on his wings. So he's just got 2 colors. I'm going to add a third one, but he has 2 colors on his wings.
Those horns are solid with the color scheme you've got going. I'm very excited for that. All right, Momo, are you able to share with us what you got?
Yeah, if you will allow me to just liquefy and just change a mask here for 1 second. Okay, it's not going to let me change the mask because the scratch sticks are full, so you're just going to see a little gap there on Hawksword a little bit. But I have this slide here where the boys are entering a tavern, and they're going to have a couple drinks so you can see them just against a wood wall, and there's some people in the tavern hanging out. And fun fact about this scene that you're going to hear soon is Az, who plays Calder, who's the little pirate twink on the left there with the scar. His mom is in like a Celtic folk band, essentially, and she gave us permission to use her band's songs for the tavern scenes. So in this scene in the bar, I wanted it to have the vibe of like an actual bar and like a band performing at the bar. So there's like lyrical songs being played, and like I add the sound of like crowds cheering and glasses clinking and stuff, and like it really helps to bring the scene to life, and it makes us feel like we're in like an actual bar and actually partying and stuff. So I'm really excited for
That's so cool.
That's
this scene.
so good. That's amazing. Well, Momo, if folks want to find this amazing content, Realms Apart, or anything else you do, where can they go? Where can they find you?
Realms Apart is pretty much Realms_apart pretty much everywhere. We are on Spotify. All the animatics are on our YouTube channel. We have our live shows over on twitch.tv/ScabbyRooster. You can find me pretty much everywhere at Momo_Obrien. I've started streaming, in which I have far less technical difficulties than we do on this stream, I promise. I mainly make my little pseudo documentaries over on YouTube, and I'm very proud of them. I would recommend checking out my Ren Fair video because that's the one that I'm most proud of, and it's got good reviews and whatever. Twitter, Instagram, and here.
thank you for being with us. And a few quick final announcements, guys. None of this amazing content could be brought to you without our partners, the first of whom is Soundtail, who brings all that ambiance to our games. We really appreciate Soundtail. Very good stuff. And, of course, Arcane Anthems, who does all those intro songs for us. And you can get free D&D music made by Arcane Anthems over at his Patreon if you click on the link in chat. Parker, what about you? What you got?
We're affiliated with Found Familiar Coffee. Our coupon code is in the chat. Thanks to our wonderful mods. So if you'd like to, support a smaller D&D business and also just buy yourself some good tasting coffee, go there.
And speaking of our wonderful mods, God, thank you guys again, as ever, for making our chat so safe and wonderful. We really appreciate you, mods. Much love to you. Always the most important thing. Save for last. And with that, I think we're going to head out. So thank you again, Momo, and bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Bye.
Woo!